Latham Lodge.
815.
First Liberty.
First Liberty.
Thank you.
Yes. In Lathan, it's Lathan.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, here he goes. Look.
starts.
That's funny. What happened last night?
Well,
Did you put that in there?
Charles,
Oh,
I'm getting ready to change it, though. Tell me if it changes, Kathy.
that's funny.
Tell me if it just changed.
I
I used
don't
one of
think
your
so.
sayings.
That's funny. Oh, I got to see this. Good morning, Marguerite. Good morning, Fred. What happened last night? Okay, let's see. Oh. I don't think it changed.
Yeah, it changed.
Did it?
No, it didn't change. Huh. Maybe it'll change after the fact.
Oh, yeah. Is he getting coffee?
Morning, Jim. Morning, Fred. Morning, Marguerite.
Oh. Oh, is my dad on?
Yeah.
Good morning, Dad. Good morning, Astros fans. Good morning, Susan.
Is that
We've got
Coach
Miss
Quigley?
Grapevine on today. Yes, of course.
Morning, Coach.
Opening. Hey, Dad, did you see Mac Davis and Helen Reddy both died yesterday? I was just so sad to see that. Two of my favorites. We're going to talk about that tomorrow, or Friday for entertainment. Oh, and Andrew White is tuning in now from the VA. Hello, Andrew. We will see your smiling face Saturday for your show. Look at you. You're so sweet. That's so great. How much fun was that, Charles?
Live from VentureX Studios in Frisco, Texas. It's JP, Kathy, and the crew.
All right. Well, good morning, and I hope you enjoyed the tour of VentureX. We are coming to you live from VentureX Studios here in Frisco, Texas. And I'll tell you, I am overly excited about Miss Grapevine coming on this morning.
Yes, we got another one of
I don't think so.
I don't think
There
so.
you go.
Now it
Now
is.
you
Now
are.
I can hear me.
John was, but
We've got another one of our Miss Texas ambassadors. This will be the third one that we've had on the show, and super excited. Very, very excited.
And then, of course, in our waiting room right now, we have got waiting to come on Dr.
The
Rebecca
one, the
Good.
only
Ask
Dr.
Be Good.
Rebecca Good of the
Ask
Ask Dr. Be
Dr.
Good
Be
show.
Good. Sunday
Now?
mornings at 8 o'clock.
or you're going to do an intro and then bring her on.
No, we're ready.
We're ready.
Let's bring her on. Get her on here. We got questions.
She's got a workout to get to.
She's got a workout to get to, and we got questions,
Already
man.
done.
Oh,
The workout's already
Should have
done.
known. Should have known.
I
So,
went early so I could come back here.
I love it.
good morning, Dr. Good.
Good morning.
How are you, Dr. Good?
I'm super. I mean, you know, the pandemic has done wonders for me as far as making sure that I stay healthy and innovative and in a problem-solving mode. I just love it.
Well, and something else that I know is putting a smile on your face. Happy anniversary to you and your handsome husband.
41 years.
That's awesome.
41 years.
Yeah, I mean, that does deserve applause. That's amazing. And they're still super happy. Like the picture of them at the restaurant, I was like, look how cute they are. They're still in love.
You got to be so careful about Facebook.
I just bore Facebook to death. Anniversary pictures, grandkids.
Yeah.
It's just no problems there.
No problems there. Well, Dr. Good, let's get into what a lot of parents see as problems. A lot of politicians see as problems. Talked about last night during the presidential debate. Joe Biden tried to beat Donald Trump over the head with, you know, the whole going back to school idea and putting kids in the classroom. You went face to face.
We did.
Boy, take us through that first day, second day, and third day of face to face. What that looked like, what that felt like, how your staff prepared for it. I mean, I got an hour's worth of question in one question for you,
For a period of time.
but we all do. All of us
Right.
parents have that.
So we have overly prepared, as did most every district, to make sure that our staff understood the steps before the kids even got there, because the implementation of the COVID safety procedures is the key, right? The implementation. And that's where things break down if your adults in an organization don't truly buy into what you're asking them to do. And so it helped that we had a couple of COVID cases with our staff in May. It sort of woke them up to the fact that, oh, this stuff is real.
Yes.
And so that's, you know, and then these were higher up folks. And so that was a huge wake up call that woke up the whole organization. And so we've had very good compliances around making sure that our adults did what we asked them to do. And so when we went to face, only a third of the families wanted to come back, which was okay, because that meant that we could fit them in with social distancing. No school district can fit in all kids into their buildings, their existing buildings, with social distancing. And some of our districts in South Texas are going back to full regular school and not having remote, which is interesting, by the way, and that is allowable by TEA. And so that'll be an interesting thing to watch. But for now, especially in the Hispanic community, I don't know if you know that the Hispanics are more likely to get it than any other minority group. They are most hesitant, and we are primarily minority Hispanic, especially Mesquite. And so they are very hesitant about coming back. But we do have a third that have come back. And so what happens is the very first thing when they drive up is that we take their temperatures before they get out of the car. First, we make sure they have their mask on. Then we take their temperature. If their temperature is normal, within the normal range, then they're allowed out of the car to go into the building and, you know, pick up breakfast and get the day started. Yesterday, and so we have about 300 kids in the Mesquite building. Normally we have about 1,200 within the three buildings down there. We had 5 kids that we sent home with higher than normal temperatures. And so that sounds scary, except to say, wait a minute, the system is working.
Yes.
That's what's
Right.
happened, right? They didn't get out of the car.
Yep.
And they went home. They could do remote learning and still get counted present. And yet, you know, we'll see today. We're also looking for the pattern. What addresses were those kids from? Are they clumped together? We're having to do a lot of data work that has nothing to do with test scores, right?
Right. But y'all are experts at it because of test scores.
Well, and so we want to know the trend, and these are different families, right? And so where are these different families with the higher temperatures coming from? Is there a neighborhood that is on the hot list for for the county. All of that stuff now is part of our everyday world. Totally different than last year, that's for sure.
So true.
So at some point, did anybody have a little anxiety? Did that anxiety overtake them, whether it be student, parent, or teacher when they came back? I mean, I can't imagine you having to be ready for everything that could come at you by going back to face. You know, it's bad enough the regular school year creates anxiety, especially for the little ones, right? Mom, dad they don't want to let them go. They don't want to go. But I mean, what about the anxiety level? Could you feel it? Was it like a knife cutting through the thickness in the air?
Here's what I'm going to say. We were very proud of our families and our children because they came in wearing a mask. They came in solemn because that's highly, not allowed to sort of be gleeful and joyful and jump around like crazy kids but like they used to be, right? Now they come in masked after getting their temperature. We're aiming this thing at their forehead. It's a very weird feeling. I took the lines the first couple of days. I worked the line. I felt very uncomfortable aiming this thing that looks in the shape of a gun at this kid's forehead, right? But that's what we're having to do now. And so I will say that everybody took it seriously. But we were very proud of our boys and girls. They stepped on the little paw prints 6 feet apart, and they waited for the adult to come and take them to the lunchroom and start breakfast. And so I will tell you, for the time ever, we had no crying parents or kinder kids.
Oh,
no.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is surprising. Having been one of those crying kinder parents twice, both times my kids started kindergarten. That's huge.
No, it was totally different. The parents had prepared the kids, and the kids came in. Again, when you're wearing a mask, you're asked to stand on these paw prints 6 feet apart and in a line. Everybody's, making sure that they brought back their device from home. And so you have your charger, all of these things. So it's just a totally different atmosphere. But it was solemn, but it was respectful. And the kids did their part. The adults did their part. And so far, we're in our 6th week of school, and we had a scare last week, but it was not COVID. And so, but we're going to have that. It's not if, it's when, for any district anywhere in the country. And
of course, I don't mean to interrupt you, but it was the day I chose to go in on campus.
Were you the risk?
No, but I go on campus. I'm visiting with the data clerk, and we're talking about attendance, and we're talking about strategies on how to handle attendance. I'm in the cafeteria with Miss Acosta, and she and I are calling a parent because this poor 5th grader has yet to log in, has yet to be able to get his work done, but he did. But when we figured that out yesterday, and I get a phone call, John, you need to leave. And I'm like, am I at risk?
What building are you in?
Yeah, what building am I in? I'm like, I'm in the elementary building. You got to go.
You gotta leave now. And so, I mean, and as it turned out, everybody thought he had COVID, but this was a child who we think had COVID earlier in the COVID period. And because he is a child with some weight issues, his lungs are compromised when he has to move a lot. And so that's what we were seeing. Okay. And so we didn't know, because families are being very secretive right now if their kids or family members have had COVID. And so nobody shared with us the fact that the family had COVID, and so they have some COVID-related leftover stuff to deal with. And so these are all things that we're having to learn as we go along. And luckily, we have our adults that seem to have good common sense in the buildings. And so we've had scares. We're handling them. We're very persistent with parents. We needed to have that COVID result back. Because if that child had been positive, he had 3 siblings in the elementary. He was middle school.
Oh, wow.
So we would have had to shut down the K through 8.
Yeah.
And that's how important that test was. And it turned out he didn't have it. So we dodged that bullet, but we really were sweating it. I wrote letters. I have letters prepared now to send home to parents if and when that time comes.
Yep.
Well, and Dr. Good, one of the things I wanted to crest over here with that part of the conversation is the fact that you had protocols in place. Your staff acted extremely professional. I mean, they went into protocol mode. Teachers knew, okay, it was my classroom or my student right here, possibly. I have to quarantine my classroom. Parents are now being called. You had a system that was in place. Tell me, out of that experience, so you can share it with parents and other educators, what would be one of the things you thought was one of the best things that came out of your system that you put together when you had that scare? And what would be something you would change?
Well, I will say that we need to stop assuming, because we assumed he had COVID. Okay, and so that was probably a mistake on our part. Going forward, we can say that he has COVID-like symptoms, but that we encourage the parent to go to. We have free labs. We sent home a flyer earlier this semester to where parents and staff can get free COVID tests on a weekly basis, matter of fact. And so what we need to do is really get good at building these relationships with parents so that they trust us enough to give us information. I mean, I felt like we really had to dig for information about this family last week, which kept us all a little at heightened anxiety until, like I said, it came back negative. But it's a good reminder, frankly, that those COVID safety implementation rules need to be followed and that the protocols are in place for a reason. And so it just reinforced all the work, all the manual stuff that we had to turn into the state and train our staff with and so forth. It just reinforced everything that we had done in preparation for that. And again, this week, like I said, we had 5 cars that we had to turn away because of heightened temperatures. And so now our follow-up is to say, what's happening with those kids? Because you have to be fever-free for 24 hours, right? So
exactly.
Right.
Well, and that's a rule. That's a rule that's always been in place. And my question is, did anybody resent being sent home with an elevated fever, or did they appreciate the fact that you guys have systems in place and this is what it takes to have our kids back on campus?
Well, I think I'm not going to worry a lot about what the parents thought, except to say that now that parents understand how serious we are, that we are going to stick to our protocols, and then we have remote learning as a choice.
Right.
If your child has a low fever, can still function, they can't come to school, but they can certainly be counted present at home by doing their work. And so I think it's a win-win, frankly. How is that bad, right?
True. Very, very good point.
Dr. Good, and let's go back for just a moment. We don't realize, I think we forget, right? We think, okay, we get COVID-19, we dodged a bullet, we're better now. But then we're not really talking about the fact that this thing is lingering in your organs. For the first time, I read an article that it actually has attacked somebody's brain, and it has really delayed.
Okay, now I've seen lungs, heart, kidneys.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
You're talking brain.
Yeah, in the
now.
last week, there was somebody who had COVID-19 pretty severely. They've come out of it, and now they have almost like a delayed response where they need therapy, almost like stroke therapy, to try to bring them back. And yet now you're seeing that in students as well. What can we tell our teachers and our parents so that we know that their kiddos may have had COVID-19 so we don't overreact? How do we not make this a second-class citizenship?
Well, again, I think it's all about building relationship and trust with your parents. I think that I may at my next parent meeting that I like to have them at least once a month online now, in English and Spanish. I'm very fortunate to be bilingual, and so I'm able to do that. And ask them to be honest with us. If you or your children have had COVID, then maybe we won't run them as hard during PE, right? I mean, that's almost like telling us they've had asthma.
Right.
So being able to have that information so that we don't have higher than needed expectations from them physically, especially, a few weeks out from them having the COVID. We need to know this. That's one part. The other part, and I know I'm getting on a soap opera here, but the wellness thing, folks. I know you're reading about the fact that COVID presents itself with people who have compromised immune systems, and who have a lot of inflammation in their bodies. So let me just put a plug in for taking care of yourself and
Right.
eating and exercising, and then having good stress management techniques. That's the key to building up your immune system such that you're not as open to flu, common cold, or COVID, right? This is not just a COVID thing.
Right.
It's just being healthy, mind, body, and spirit, to the point where you're not as apt to pick up germs.
And that's a great point. And I know you're always driving that home. You're almost like having Dr. Clothier or Dr. Dave on, because it's so true. It's if you're, I wonder, and this is something that we'll know more moving forward in the next months, if because there are more of us who are paying attention to the supplements we take, cutting out sugars, cutting out those extra fried foods and fats and all that kind of stuff, getting out and walking more, I wonder if we see a decrease in the flu. Also, people are washing their hands. We've got the masks and all stuff. So I wonder if you're just going to see a healthier population, possibly.
I'm hoping.
That'd be a great, again, that would be one of those, a silver lining in the clouds
Well,
kind of thing.
I got healthier this year.
Yeah.
Dr. Good, you'll be proud of me. I got really healthy this year. You want to know how?
Did she motivate you too?
Well, because the State Fair of Texas isn't open. So, see, I think that's my good health for the year.
Yeah, I'm not eating breakfast. I'm not
Dr.
eating corn dogs.
Good is
She's like,
shaking
no,
her-
that's not
no,
it,
that-
JP.
no.
Oh, and here's why, John, I will call your bluff. I saw on Facebook that you're starting to hit up the corny dog place in Plano. So
Yeah, that
you're still
Facebook,
getting your state fair on.
that Facebook gives it away.
You got corny dogs, John, and you didn't bring me one?
Interestingly enough, I have not.
I still have not.
Okay.
I still
I
have
have
not
not.
done the golden chick corny dog. Does it taste? Does it really taste like Fletcher's?
Well,
I'd
they
wonder
say
if
it's
fruit.
Fletcher's, so
I'm
it's
not
gotta-
asking Dr. Good that, because I know she's not hitting
Well,
up-
and we got to
hitting
get
up the
Dr. Good on
Fletchers.
her day, because we've kept her long enough.
Thank you, Dr.
Dr. Good, first
We
of
love
all,
you.
God bless you. God bless your staff, which, by the way,
yeah.
includes me. So God bless myself. And but no, I mean, the whole. I love what you're doing, and I think next week I want to talk about your virtual high school or your virtual school,
Yes.
and what you're doing to continue to move forward. See, you haven't used COVID as a reason to complain. You've used
They've
COVID
excelled.
as a way to expand,
Yes,
and provide
absolutely.
more and better education. So, God bless you.
All right. Happy to do it. Thank you,
All
guys.
right,
Rock,
thank
Dr.
you.
Good. Have a great day.
All right,
you.
and guess what? We get to go right into the one, the only, the very beautiful Miss Grapevine.
Yes, super excited.
Lathan, no offense, buddy, but Miss Grapevine, I mean,
We've got one of our Miss Texas ambassadors. We'll catch you in 15 minutes.
Lathan is joining
Lathan's
us.
like-
He's joining us in studio in a little bit, and he's sitting back with the audience, and it's hilarious because I'm like, sorry, Lathan, Miss Grapevine. Oh,
Yeah.
there she is,
Good
Miss
morning.
Grapevine. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, no offense, Lathan, but she's beautiful.
We have got Miss Grapevine, who is Jaylene Looper, and she is one of our Miss Texas ambassadors. If you remember about a month ago, we started talking about this, that there were 10 ladies who were chosen out of the Miss Texas contestants for this year, who are kind of on an extended remix of their crown for their city or county, and Jaylene is one of those. And Miss Grapevine, it is great to see you and your beautiful smile. And
It's great to see y'all.
I want to mention this first because you've got a great topic and a great platform you're talking about. But are you the first Miss Texas to have a very unique hairstyle? Or the first Miss
candidate.
Miss Texas candidate. Yes. So talk to us about your hair.
Yes. So I actually started my locks when I was in high school. And it was something I was really afraid to do, honestly, because of judgment or whatever the case may be. And I decided to go for it. And honestly, I never thought about the fact that someone had never touched the Miss Texas stage with dreadlocks before. And I actually am a cheerleader, and I taught a cheer camp. And one time a girl came up to me and she said, I've never seen a cheerleader with dreadlocks before. And I thought, I haven't either. So I recognize how much bigger this is than me. And I hope to be able to be a Miss Texas one day that they can say the same thing.
Well, you look beautiful, but then again,
Oh, goodness gracious, yes.
you look beautiful
Oh,
with a
yes.
plastic bag
And it takes
wrapped around your
forever.
hair.
It takes forever to make those too.
I know. Well, I mean, they're gorgeous, and so is she. So
I wish I had the hair to
Thank
do
you.
it because I'd always wanted to do it. So, so here's the thing, right?
Yeah, we can see
So-
JP
well,
with
no,
dreadlocks.
no,
No,
I
do
want
not
you-
even go
hear
there.
me out.
No.
Hear me out.
No.
Hear me out. I'm a 1980s guy, right? So who didn't watch Point Break with Patrick Swayze and Keanu Reeves?
Oh, I saw it
Right?
3
That's
times in
another
one
one.
day.
Okay, so poor Miss Grapevine doesn't know this, but see, I was
She's too young.
Right, I was a surfer boy in California in middle school and high school, and so I wanted to grow dreads like the guy in his gang, Patrick Swayze's gang, and grab my surfboard, right? But I didn't have enough hair.
So you
Did you at least
skydived
have a
also?
ponytail, JP?
I tried. I couldn't do it. I tried.
Oh, I like her. She can come back on anytime she
I
wants.
tried. Hey, real quick, I want to say a hello to James Gutierrez. He is joining us from Arizona.
morning. Good
He's getting ready to go into his
morning.
Principles of Marketing class at Arizona Christian University. So, James, thanks for joining us out there in Arizona. So, but yeah, I tried the ponytail. It didn't. It just. I could. Yeah. The short hair pulled over to the side. It looked like I had like a half-formed, deformed, mullet-looking
I
thing.
want pictures. Yeah, I want
Yeah.
pictures. Well, okay.
But I was tan though.
Okay, so this is the last day of
All right, all right,
September.
Stan, we need pictures of
This
John.
this is the last day of September. So, Miss Grapevine, if you will talk to us about wrapping up this month in a very strong manner with a very, very serious topic.
Right. So September is Hunger Action Month. And I fortunately have been able to overcome hunger. I actually dealt with it briefly as a child, but that's why it's my platform. And that's why this month is so important to me. I'm advocating on behalf of the North Texas Food Bank. So this month was a really big deal for us as we did so many different fundraisers and different things. And I actually hosted a Spirit Week with a few other young ladies across the nation. Miss Louisiana was one of them. Miss Syracuse in New York was another one. And Miss Phoenix, Arizona was also another one.
Oh, very cool.
And we were able,
Very cool.
Yes, we were able to do a Spirit Week. So we did a seminar about topics like hunger. And we were able to give information out. And that week, we just raised awareness and raised some funds for the cause. So it's something I've been really passionate about. People participated nationwide. It's so awesome. And I'm so glad to have a platform to cover a topic like hunger.
And here's the thing, right? Nobody should go hungry. How many times do we hear that food sits on the back of a bay somewhere, or we've overgrown, so we're paying farmers to burn their fields?
Right.
with-
Apples are misshapen, so they're not considered edible.
Right.
And that's so funny you say that, Kathy, because I actually wrote a poem about food insecurity when I was in high school. Before I was willing to talk about my own dealing with it, that was my way to express myself. And I actually received a activist award from the North Texas Food Bank.
Oh, my
And in that poem, we
goodness.
actually talked about food getting thrown away because it doesn't meet standards in color and shape.
Wow.
Yeah,
that
and
just
I'm-
gives me chills. That's
Well,
that's unreal.
This is the other thing, right? So something says this, this needs to be sold by this date. Well, it doesn't mean that it's not good. It just means that
Exactly.
they just want you to sell it by that date. Sour cream doesn't really go bad when it's sealed.
my buttermilk,
Does it go sour, John?
my
Right.
family's like, buttermilk's already expired, Mom.
Well, it's like my mom, when you're poor, you don't get the luxury of throwing out a half a gallon of milk, right?
No.
So just because there's an expiration date, my mom would be like, pull the milk out and you smell it.
That's
And if it doesn't
Boy,
smell
howdy, yep.
bad, you're going to keep drinking it.
Yep.
And we did. We kept drinking it,
We
right?
used to freeze it.
Right.
When it was on sale, we'd get a whole bunch and freeze it in
Freeze
the
it,
freezer,
yep.
and then bring it out and drink it.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so yeah, I just don't get that. So, I'm
So-
so glad you're tackling
Yeah,
this.
this is a huge topic and such an important topic, and even more so during COVID, because people have had a decrease in salary or jobs or whatever the case may be,
Right.
or you're not stopping by the grocery store every couple of days. You're maybe going out
Right.
twice a month, just trying to, not have that contact with as many people. So, what can
And that
people
number is
do?
growing.
Yes, it is. You're right.
Yeah, so there's normally 1 in 6 Texans specifically that deal with this issue. And now I think it's down to like 1 in 5, which is absolutely frightening. One of the biggest things that you can do, of course, you can donate to the North Texas Food Bank. You can donate funds, you can donate your time. But I always encourage people, if you can't feed 100 people, then just feed one.
Yes.
That's something Mother Teresa actually said. And if you see a need, try to help out, whether that's at work or if you're a teacher, if that's a student, whatever that looks like, just trying to fill the gaps. Because if we all did that, then truly we could feed our neighbors.
That's so true. That's so true.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, Jaylene, we just had Dr. Rebecca Good, who has her own education show, and she is a superintendent for a couple of charter schools, and they actually have a garden that the kids tend to, and they grow vegetables that they donate to the North Texas Food Bank. So maybe and maybe you can go out and visit their Plano campus and see what these kids have done. It's amazing because that teaches you the importance of giving to others.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we
I
need to
love
connect Miss
gardening. I wish
Grapevine
I
with
was
Jackson.
better at it.
You don't have a green thumb?
Unfortunately, I would show you my aloe plant, but she's dying, and I don't. That's supposed to be the easiest plant to keep alive.
Right, it's hard to kill aloe and cactus. So you need to,
I did it.
you need to come out to Students on Service, and I will teach you how to farm.
Cactus.
Well,
I
you know,
will
and-
come. I want to do more with my platform, with gardening and that sort of thing. Because even the North Texas Food Bank has a garden, and I'm going to learn. I'm going to get better. Don't worry.
I love it. I love it.
Well, you know what's really neat, Miss Grapevine, is that you can actually grow in a 750 square foot apartment potatoes. You can grow tomatoes. You can grow beans, and not have to have a garden plot because you can do all those things in garbage cans.
Oh,
What about thyme? Can you grow thyme?
well, yeah, you can grow all
Yeah.
kinds of
Yeah.
You can grow
Okay,
spices.
Father Time.
Yeah, you can grow spices in your windowsill.
Yeah, you can. But so you can
Yeah.
grow those vegetables, though, in a garbage can, and
That's
you can do
awesome.
it from going to the grocery store and buying tomatoes and taking the seeds out, drying them out,
Right.
replant them, and you can grow. So one tomato can grow you an orchard of tomatoes, right? You take your potatoes. You take a couple potatoes, you quarter them off, you bury them in the dirt properly,
Oh my god!
and you grow 5
That's
pounds
so
of
cool.
potatoes.
See, we got to teach one of the Miss Texas ambassadors, and there's 13, not 10. Sorry, Susan Schuler, you're correct. Something about gardening, even though I didn't even know that. So,
Yeah.
wow, we're learning all kinds of things. Well, okay, you mentioned a term, and I had just heard this term in the last year, and so I want you to talk a little bit more about this, and that is food insecurity. Tell us, because you always hear about people, there are people starving, there are people who are going hungry, there are kids who they're only getting food while they're at school. What does food insecurity mean?
So I like to start off by saying hunger and food insecurity are similar, but they're not the same. So someone can be hungry and be dealing with food insecurity, but not always the other way around. Food insecurity is just not knowing where your next meal is coming from. So really, you being food secure would know, okay, I'm going to have dinner. You might not know exactly what time, but you know that you're going to have dinner.
Okay.
Whereas someone who's food insecure doesn't necessarily know when they're going to have their next meal. And that was my case when I was a kid. Unfortunately, when my parents split, things got a little difficult for a while, but we figured it out. And luckily I was able to beat that, but that's not the case for everybody. Sometimes people really get stuck in this cycle. And I say that because I used to intern at a food bank as well. And I used to help people. I was the client intern. So I used to help people sign up for all of that stuff. So I recognize that it's not always the easiest cycle to break.
Yeah, and I think that's so important, especially people would look at you, you're beautiful, you're accomplished, you're articulate, you're very inspirational. And I think if kids can hear your message that, hey, there was a time in my life where I wasn't sure if I was going to have dinner that night, or here are some things I've dealt with. I truly think that can help take some of that stigma away, because again, if you don't have food, I mean, that's one of your basic needs.
Absolutely.
I mean, how can you go on to that
Well,
next level with learning, or getting a good night's sleep or anything?
Well, that was the concept too when I did the community
Yeah.
service program with
Yeah.
the kids. Is I created my own food bank in the court, and so we could feed families, because moms and dads can't concentrate on finding a better job if
Right.
they're worried their kids aren't going to have anything to eat. And so hats off to you. We need to introduce you to Jackson Turner. He is a young
yes,
and
yes,
upcoming,
yes.
amazing young man. He has his own website, nonprofit, and he
Yes.
is a young man.
We're talking like 12.
12.
I was very young. Yes.
And he started this at 9 and has an
Yes.
amazing backpack program. I
we
wish I
need to
could.
put the
love
two
that.
of you together.
What is the name
yes.
of his?
of
of his foundation?
I've got it.
He's got his own nonprofit.
Yeah.
Now.
Oh yeah,
That's awesome.
Instead of getting gifts, he ends up.
Oh yeah, for his birthday,
For his
he
birthday,
exchanges out gifts for
Yeah.
food donations, backpack donations,
Yeah.
school
Yeah, we
supplies,
need to get the two of you
bottled
together.
water, all that kind of stuff. So we
Well,
need to
I love
connect you
that.
guys.
So who can the crew donate to, Miss Grapevine? Where do we go? If I've got an extra $5, does that help?
It does. It absolutely does. Every single cent helps. That would definitely be if you go to the North Texas. Actually, sorry, it's ntfb.org, which is North Texas Food Bank. .org. You can go donate there. I know North Texas Giving Day just passed, so every single year, if you donate on those days, they actually will double the amount that you donate.
wow.
So stuff like that, just paying attention because there's so many cool things that they do, and donors match all the time.
I have your. If you
Fantastic.
point below you,
Oh, Chuck, and you're pointing.
point down below you, and go to that's your website there. And there's a link to the North Texas Food Bank. So if you go to her website,
I love it.
Chuck loves doing that.
There
He
you
loves having our
go.
guests point.
Yay!
Love that so much.
Haley, you're sweet.
we'll put
We love
that,
Miss
we'll put that
Grapevine.
website in our description too after the show.
We will.
Yes, and we'll put it in our comments. Thank you so much, Miss Grapevine. We are just so impressed. So impressed.
Thank you.
If there's a final
Thank you
message.
all for having
Well,
me.
oh,
I'm honored
goodness.
to be here.
Oh, we
Of
will
course.
absolutely have you again.
If there's one thing you could leave everybody with, what would that be before you sign off with us?
I think I said it earlier. If you can't feed 100 people, then just feed one.
There you go.
Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Well, God bless you, Miss Grapevine.
Thank you
We
so
love
much
you.
for
Take
joining us.
care.
She could be a positive person.
All right.
She is.
Chuck,
She
Chuck,
is.
let it go, Chuck. It's now Friday. Don't do it. Don't
Thank you,
cross.
Miss Grapevine.
Don't cross pollinate. All right, we need to get Lathan a chair up here, and need to get him on that headset and on the microphone. It's now time to talk a little SCOTUS and what's going on out there in the big
Lathan,
world.
and he's got another article published. So very busy, very busy.
Very busy, very busy. I
yes,
like that.
He is. He is.
Very
Here, you know
busy.
what? As a matter of fact, here you can scoot this in a little bit. That way you can fit over here. We can get you on camera. There you go.
So, getting ready to talk about SCOTUS, talk about your article, the Constitution, but well, let's let him get situated, and we'll get you a card after the fact. Well, that's fine. So, yeah, let's
Can we get him on camera? Excellent. Thank you, sir.
That's okay. Don't worry.
That's
We
okay.
tear
That
it up
happens.
too.
Yeah, we tear up the wall every day.
Go ahead and push that table out this way.
Yeah,
there
we
you
can.
go.
There we go.
So, getting ready to talk about that, but First Liberty had an opportunity to jump out and be a part of the announcement, right, Lathan? Oh, hold on. We got to get your mic turned on. Wow.
like, what?
It's Wednesday,
Wah, wah.
not Monday.
So thanks.
All right, let's do that again.
All right.
So, First Liberty, you guys got to go do something cool.
Yes.
Yeah, our CEO Kelly was there for the announcement of Judge Barrett as Supreme Court nominee, and so yeah, it was pretty cool to see your boss there in wherever it was, the Rose Garden.
The Rose
Yes.
Garden, yeah.
Yeah.
With
the
his
announcement.
pastor as well, I think.
Yeah, exactly. His pastor was there too. So yeah, we were pleased with the nomination. I think that she's going to be solid on protecting religious liberty, which is really the only issue that we evaluate potential judges on, because that's the only issue we litigate. So,
Right.
So though, even though we're a 501c3, as people may know, and so we're officially nonpartisan. So we evaluate the nominee's record on the issues of religious liberty, and put our research out there for the president and the Senate Judiciary Committee and the senators to do with it, what they will.
Sure.
We don't try to influence anyone's vote. We don't get into advocacy, but we do the research on the nominees to let people know if they have a like Judge Barrett, who's now been on the Seventh Circuit for I think 3 years. So we can look at decisions that she's been a part of, and and research her background, or law review articles she's written or speeches she's made. If there's a published word by a judicial nominee, whether it's for the Supreme Court or the circuit courts of appeal or even the federal district courts, we do research on them to see if we are confident in their constitutional interpretation and how they would defend religious liberty as enshrined in the Constitution.
Has there been any religious liberty cases that have come out of her court that stand out?
Off the top of my head, I think the issue that seems to be what is going to be the big topic of debate when it comes to her is those on the left seem to be trying to paint her as somebody who is sole mission in life is to get on the court and reverse Roe v. Wade. So I think there was a decision in front of her on a rule that came up, I think, out of Indiana about cremation of fetal remains, and a law that was passed in Indiana regarding that. And not to get too technical, but really what it was three judge panel of that circuit issued a ruling against the law, and there was an appeal to the entire circuit court, which is called an appeal en banc. They have to vote on whether or not the entire court will then rehear it, and they voted not to. But she joined a dissent from denial,
Right.
In support of, which was basically in support of the law, basically saying we should have heard this en banc and taken another look at it. The Supreme Court eventually ruled in favor of the law.
Okay.
So, but I mean, you have to look at the entirety of their career. She was a professor at Notre Dame. She clerked for Scalia.
Right.
She's eminently qualified to be a judge.
Absolutely.
And I think you can go back and look at her testimony the first time she was confirmed on the role of a judge is to decide what the law is, not what the law should be. And you can learn a lot from that. I think you can learn a lot from how she was treated also in her first confirmation hearing as to how she will probably be treated
this time and then some. Well, her Catholicism has come into question. It's interesting, even, and we mentioned this the other day, even Nancy Pelosi, again, who considers herself Catholic. I still, as a Catholic, I really have a hard time reconciling anybody who can support the pro-choice movement over pro-life as a Catholic, but it is what it is. She's even said, stay away from her religion. So I think that's very interesting, but I don't think they will.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate because it's unconstitutional.
Yeah.
I mean, it's in...
Hello, the whole reason First Liberty exists.
Right. It's not. You don't even have to get to the amendments. It's in the original text. It's in Article 6. There is no religious test for office, for any office.
You're right. Yep.
And so to consider someone's religion when considering their suitability for office is unconstitutional.
Yeah.
And, we have said before, and I think I have in op-eds or somewhere, or maybe on this show, I don't remember, but, nominees, whether it's Barrett or others, if the senators start down this line of questioning, should frankly just refuse to answer it and say, your question violates Article 6 of the Constitution, and therefore I'm under no obligation to answer it
that question. That's a good
whatsoever. Point. Basically, just like pleading the fifth in a criminal case, is like plead the sixth. Article 6 of the Constitution.
Yeah. Right.
You can't ask me that.
Absolutely.
Well, and I don't know that it's not a bad position, especially when the cameras are on, to look at a Democratic senator and say, sir, you are a defender of the Constitution, and yet you don't understand or have read Article 6, which tells you what you've just asked me is absolutely unconstitutional,
right?
Which is a great reason why I should be approved by you and your vote to go on to the Supreme Court.
Turn their argument against them. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, a lot of these nominees, are probably. I remember when our Deputy General Counsel, Matthew Kaczmarek, went through his confirmation hearing. He's now a federal district court judge out in Amarillo. And I remember talking to him prior to the hearing. And, he was getting all sorts of advice about, how to deal with the hearing, and these senators are going to ask these sorts of questions. I just remember telling him, Matthew, you have forgotten more about the Constitution than the clowns who are going to be questioning you. No.
I love that.
It's like, just do your thing, man.
Yeah.
I mean, just make it so clear who the expert on the Constitution is
Right.
in this hearing,
Right.
and don't put up with this.
And I can see Judge Barrett doing that. I mean, she's got the ability, very well spoken. You know, I one of the things that really struck me when I was doing research on her back when that she was talked about for a pick for
Right.
Supreme Court before, and that is that back when she was an instructor, when she was a professor at Notre Dame, 3 times the student body chose her as the distinguished professor of the year. That speaks volumes to me.
Certainly, and especially in that setting.
Yes.
You know, because I think her philosophy when it comes to the Constitution is probably more conservative than most law professors.
Yes.
And I mean conservative in how you interpret the Constitution, not
Right.
politically conservative.
Not that it's
And-
a living, breathing document that you can interpret and make laws from. No, it
Right.
is what it is.
That she's a textualist. You know,
Yes.
she's an originalist under the
Yes.
mold of Scalia, who she clerked
Yes.
for. And so for a student body, you know, who is probably, I would guess, you know, split at best.
I was going to say at
on
best,
that.
but probably more
But
liberal in
probably
their
more on
thoughts.
the
Yes.
living document
Yes.
side to vote her as, you know, distinguished professor. I think that speaks a lot to her, her character and her demeanor and how she
Yes.
treats students in a classroom, students who may clearly disagree with her.
Right.
You know, you don't win an award like that unless those students feel that you know, you've treated them with respect. And I think that's exactly how she will probably function on the court. I mean,
That's what I look at too. Yeah,
Yeah.
that speaks to how she will. That's how she conducts herself in everyday life.
right. Right.
You know, and I think that speaks volumes. You know, you mentioned that she had clerked for Scalia. You know, he was absolutely my favorite justice forever and a day. And I look at her and I think she's going to be that next. Not that she's going to be a Scalia, because you know everybody's their own person. But I think for our generation, this is somebody who will be able to watch. You know, as we get older and as this next generation comes up, and I just think she's going to make such an impact.
Certainly the potential to. Yeah, I
Yes.
mean, even just, you know, assuming, you know, good health, just by her age, she
Yes.
could, if she's confirmed, she could be there for 40 years.
Exactly.
Easily.
Exactly.
So that's, and that's why it's, you know, it's an important decision for any president who you put on that court, because they are lifetime terms,
Yes.
and for those circuit courts of appeal and even the federal district courts, because they're lifetime appointments.
Absolutely.
And the nominees that Trump has had confirmed at all levels, their average age is like early 40s.
Right.
When you look at it, so I mean, it's always the longest lasting legacy a president leaves, whether people know it or not.
And most
and-
people don't. I think with President Trump, that's coming to light because he has had the opportunity to appoint so many people to these federal positions. And now, my goodness, 3 to the, you know, United
Right.
States Supreme Court. This is, I mean, that's jaw dropping, and it is so important. I know a lot of my Christian friends, some who don't really dig his personality,
Sure.
but what I see them posting on social media over and over and over is the success they have seen through him in those judicial appointments. It's everything.
Well, and like the circuit courts of appeal, Barrett's hearing for the Circuit Court of Appeal got attention because of Feinstein and her "The Dogma Lives Loudly Within You," and that's a concern and all that. Those typically don't get as much attention, obviously, as a Supreme Court pick. But you remember, in a normal, you know, average term, there's between 7,000 and 8,000 cases appealed to the Supreme Court, and they maybe hear 70 or 80.
Which you've said that, and that's staggering to me.
Which means, I mean, that's about 1%. Which
Right.
means the other 99% of the time, that Circuit Court of Appeals decision is the final say.
Right.
So, and President Trump has filled every vacancy available to him on the Circuit Courts of Appeal. There's not a single vacancy available.
Well, and it's like he
Right.
explained that last night. I mean, when he was talking with
When he was
I say talking
trying to
with
talk
Joe Biden, explaining that it was embarrassing that the Obama administration had left 128 judicial seats vacant
Yes.
to turn over to the next president, which turns out to be great
It
for
worked out well
President
for us.
Trump.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just not something you normally do, and how mishandled that level of government was. And so let's turn the corner to politics a little bit and discuss part of that conversation, which is you should allow the American people to make their choice in November before you appoint or put up a Supreme Court justice. Reaction to that.
Yeah, so I work for a law firm, so here comes the disclaimer, right? I mean, we're a C3 and a non-political organization, so any political opinion is mine, not necessarily First Liberty. So there, I got that out of the way.
Yes.
So Mr. Kelly Shackelford, he's off the leash right
doing my
now.
job. Yeah. So, look, I think the difference between what happened in 2016 and what is happening now, people talk about, well, Obama didn't have the Senate and Trump does. But the fact is, President Obama's presidency was coming to an end either way.
Right.
Right. It was either going to be...
You can't be reelected for a third term.
Right.
It is what it is.
So his term was coming to an end. And he did not control, didn't have the support of the Senate.
Right.
The difference here now is, although Trump's presidency could be coming to, he has the potential to continue to be president,
Right.
and his party controls the Senate. But the fact is, people, I think, have a misunderstanding of the advice and consent section of the Constitution. It's not a rubber stamp. The plain difference is the Senate did not consent to President Obama's nominee. That's it.
Yep.
And this Senate does consent to this president's nominee.
Right. And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, and that's the difference. Now, you can talk about hypocrisy on both sides and how they said one thing then and they said both something different now, and everybody understands that. But the plain fact is the Senate has a role to play.
Yes.
The president's party controls the Senate. They didn't consent to Merrick Garland, and they do consent to Amy Coney Barrett.
Right.
Well, and
Right.
you go one step
That's very
deeper,
true.
right? Let's go one step deeper. It's definitely a double standard, because if it was a Democrat president in office, they would be doing the exact same thing.
Certainly.
I mean, it's ridiculous to think for a moment that you can even stand on stage and let the hypocrisy pour out of your mouth, knowing that you would do the exact same thing. So it blows me away, looking for this mandate from the American people when the process of putting up a justice and then nominating and confirming a justice, most people don't even understand that.
Yeah, and you talk about a mandate. Well, there was an election. It was in 2016, and he was elected president, and the Republicans were given, maintained control of the Senate.
Right.
So there has been an election, and he won basically on the issue of judges.
That was one of
Because
his biggest campaign promises, and it's been yet another promise that he kept.
Yeah, because of the death of Justice Scalia, and
Right.
and President Trump, then candidate Trump, did something no one had ever done before, who didn't just say, "Trust me, I'll put good people on the court." He said, "Well, no, here's an actual list of people I'm going to consider."
Which, that's a good point you bring up, Lathan. Nobody had ever done that. He said, here are the people who I'm vetting. I would like the American public
Right.
to know who I'm seriously considering.
Right, and then you also had the 2018 election, where, frankly, I think Senator Feinstein's treatment of Amy Coney Barrett cost them 4 seats in the Senate.
I
in 2018.
absolutely, I think that really truly turned. It was first of all, she kind of trying to make a backwards Star Wars kind of speak reference, which I don't appreciate that at all as a Star Wars fan. But
if you're going to quote Star Wars, get it right.
Exactly. Amen to that. But I think you're right. Even here in Texas, they were so sure that Francis O'Rourke was going to beat Ted Cruz, which thank the good Lord that didn't happen. It was, these were decisive decisions that the American people made, again, which further says, yes, you're on board. We're on board with what President Trump is doing and what the Senate has done.
Yeah, as I said, I think that part of the Senate races in 2018 was about confirmation of judges. And so there's been 2 elections. The people have spoken, and they will have a chance to speak again here, in less than a month. If they are so, appalled by Amy Coney Barrett on the Supreme Court, that, then they'll vote for Joe Biden on the possibility that, with say a Justice Breyer or Justice Thomas or
Right.
elder members of the court, that in order to give him the chance to replace them.
Right. Right.
Well-
Yeah, and that's where the American people, you're right. That's where we do have a voice in this. And I think it's so important to educate people to that. So thank you for that.
Now, Lathan, I don't know if you want to stay with us or not, but it's time for us to transition into the presidential debate last night.
I can hang around.
So we'd love for you to hang out with
that'd
We're
us.
going to take a break, or
Yeah, let's go ahead. We're going to don't go anywhere. Facebook's going to stay live. We're going to go ahead and take a YouTube break and come right back. We're talking like 60 seconds, but Facebook, we're still live.
So
and we'll-
you're not going to go walk around today. You're
Not
not doing
today.
a walk
Today-
around to get extra coffee.
I might go walk around.
Well, Charles might walk around, but stay with us on Facebook. Charles, let them hear us talk on Facebook, because I think I'm going to react to a lot of the commentary that's on.
Well, the other day,
Oh,
when
the
we did
debate
that
talk's already
pause, It
started.
didn't pause YouTube. It just like jittered, and then
Perfect. Well,
it
let's
started
jitter.
to feed again on YouTube. So
Well, let's do that. Let's jitter and then keep going. Let me know when we've jittered so that I can keep us
What
rocking
does
and
that
rolling.
mean?
I don't know.
I don't
Hey,
know.
Y'all
not
are
only,
making words
hey,
up.
not only did I say jitter, but I do this for some reason. I'm not sure why I do this SNL thing. I don't know what I do. What am I doing? What am I doing?
You've
you
had
want
too
that
much coffee
overlay
today,
image,
honey.
or do you want?
Absolutely. So, anywho, let me know when we've jittered so I can jitter back. I definitely want to do some jittering. Are we ready?
I started it.
All right,
Everybody
very good.
started?
All right, very good. And if you're
And
wondering,
toodaloo, we're back.
exactly. And if you're wondering why we're doing it, is because we're actually breaking YouTube up into the format that it likes to be in, which is more of a podcasty type of format.
And
And
it
so-
was- it didn't break
Hashtag
the- it didn't
podcasty
make it
word that
45
JP
minute
made
segments.
up.
It made it all one segment, and I don't know if it's because of the technology we're using.
Catherine.
It just says, "Oh, they're
Hey,
still
Lonnie,
there.
good
Let's
morning. And Michelle, yes,
reconnect
we
to
can
the
hear
same
you.
thing."
Wow.
So
Gotcha.
I'm not sure what's going on.
well, we'll figure that
We'll
out.
figure that out.
But
though.
as you notice, we have definitely broke up into topics now where we dive deep. Wednesdays is politics, current events, and government. And so today we're going to be talking about the debate. Of course, yesterday was, last night was the first of 3 presidential debates.
Oh,
And, I
I may need
And
to
I
be
just
one
wanna
and
know what
done with
happened
that.
last night.
Yeah, well,
That was-
I put the what the what. What
Yeah,
the what?
that is, yes, that is what
I tried to update
the
our title. I don't know if it
Kathyisms.
finally
What
updated
the
it.
What?
That's why I put it in my title. What the what? Yeah,
That
Kathy,
is a Kathyism.
yeah, Kathy calls me last night. This is no joke. And she's like, Mike, I better answer the phone.
Well, because
I-
I assumed you were watching it live. I
Right.
didn't realize
I
you were at a
DVR'd
lovely dinner. I'm so sorry I jacked that up
No,
for
that's
you.
right. We had gotten a late dinner. I had been working all day where I didn't have any time to even stop for lunch. I had calls at 12, 12:30, and 1. And one of them with you at 1 o'clock.
There you go.
And
Imagine
so
that.
we had a late dinner last night, and Kathy, I'm like, I better answer this because I know what's coming. I thought she was going to say, man, the president's knocking him out. And I'm like, yeah. And then she goes, I've got a headache.
I said this. I said, first of all, Chris Wallace, what the heck? Have you? Okay, I've just got that is, God bless him. That's got to be the worst moderating job I've ever seen. I guess I expected he was going to be, and I thought maybe he would hide it a little bit pro Biden and very anti Trump. Didn't hide that at all. But as far as just getting control of a debate.
Well, and let's watch that. It's a great lead in. Then I
Yeah.
want to have Lathan react first. So let's watch that. If you'll bring my screen up, please, Charles. This is where, to me, where it kind of begins. You expect both of these alpha males to talk over each other anyways. You expect that, right? But because it started in 16 at least, if not before then. It carried on in the Democratic primary, no doubt about it. So it's going to happen. But this is where I think he loses control. Here we go.
And to say that they need to stand down and not add to the violence in a number of these cities, as we saw in Kenosha and as we've seen in Portland.
Sure,
Are you
I'm willing
prepared
to do
specifically
that, but
do it? Well, go ahead, sir.
I would say almost everything I see is from the left wing, not from the right wing.
what are you saying?
I'm willing to do anything. I want to see
Well,
peace.
then do it, sir.
Say it. Do it. Say it.
Yeah, here, listen to this.
You want to call him? What do you want to call him? Give me a name. Give me a
White
name.
supremacy.
Let's stop there for just a minute. Reaction. I'm going to let you react first.
Sure. This is one. So I need to say also that I caught a lot of this on highlights afterwards because I do a thing for a National Review, and we had a thing last night. So I caught probably the last 20, 30 minutes on the radio on my drive home, and then saw. But I've seen several clips, and this is one where I think President Trump missed an opportunity. and it's understandable in that setting how why he did. When you feel like you're in a debate with two people, I think his instinct is not to do whatever the other two people want him to do. But I think he missed an opportunity there. When you've got Wallace and Biden both say it. I think he missed an opportunity there to say, let me once and for all again put to rest the lie that has been told by the left and by the media about what I said about Charlottesville, because that's where all of this comes from.
Right.
And he could have said that you have mischaracterized what I said about what went on in Charlottesville for years now, and you've perpetrated this lie that I refuse.
And let me clear the air.
And let me say it one more time for the entire nation. White supremacists, extremist groups on all points along the spectrum of politics, Antifa, Proud Boys, whatever you want to call them, none of them have any place in American politics.
Right.
And he could have been done with it.
Yeah, and let's not forget Antifa. Remind me to say something about Antifa.
Oh, yeah.
So, Kathy, reaction to what you just watched, clip-wise.
Well, and again, I think, first of all, you had you're the president of the United States. You've been told to shut up. You've been called a clown. I think by this point he had been told, "Shut up, man."
Well, not yet. It's coming.
Oh, it's okay.
It's
Yeah.
coming.
So we're a little bit early, but from early on from this debate, it was like he was debating Chris Wallace and Joe Biden. I do want to say something about Joe Biden, because some people are like, "Oh, well, he did really good." I do think when he looked at the camera, that was effective. And, we learned that in Ferris Bueller's Day Off at the, after the credits
Breaking
in the
that wall.
movie. Yeah, breaking the fourth wall. Okay, so I think Joe Biden just, staying alert and upright the entire hour and a half debate was going to be a win. So right there, he met everybody's expectations. Okay, Chris Wallace, who said he was going to try to be invisible as a moderator. Don't make me laugh.
I love it when you do that.
OMG. He was as uninvisible, is that a word, as possible. So
with you, Kathy, all of them are words.
Okay, didn't even work. I felt like President Trump was being attacked by the moderator and by Joe Biden. And I'm going to go back to something I said before the show, JP, that you and I were talking about, because you've debated, your entire life and done it at a worldwide level.
Correct.
You did the Super Bowl of debates back in high school.
Correct.
And college.
Yeah.
I've been doing speech
Oxford,
and debate.
Cambridge, Ateneo University.
Yeah, I've been doing speech and debate since 7th grade. And I'm thinking back to Mrs. Abraham, my speech coach in 7th grade. And if anything that Biden said or Chris Wallace said, I would have been disqualified from a speech and debate tournament in 7th grade.
Well, you'd have been told to sit down.
You're out of the tournament, and you're 6 weeks out until you can
I thought
compete
it looked
again.
like an inexperienced parent trying to handle their children when they were
Arguing.
disputing about who took the last
Where'd that
cookie.
voice come from? Put the camera on you. Let people see. People want to see you, or they don't want to hear you. They've told me this.
Specifically for this instance or any other instance during the debate, are there times where I was like, I wish President Trump would have said this, or he could have just put that to rest right now. I feel like he was at a very unfair disadvantage from the very beginning and throughout the entire debate.
Well, so this is early on in the
Yes.
debate when this happens. And in my opinion, first of all,
And hence the reason I called you and said I had a headache.
yes. First of all, I agree with Lathan, and I said this last night. Don't fade away from the challenge. Go up and go, you know what? This is what happened. And I can't help it if you can't figure out where the lineage is in my thinking patterns in discussing ...
Sure.
Because you want to change the message rather than listen to the message. And so to me, I said it last night, don't run from these opportunities. You need to turn and go, like on climate change, which we're not at yet, but as an example, I'd look at them and go, and what's your point? You want me to suffocate an economy or allow the earth to take care of herself, which she's going to do anyways? And we'll talk about that here in a minute as well. But so my reaction is first of all, and President Trump calls this out at some point where he says, who am I debating here?
Yes.
Chris Wallace, am I debating you or am I debating Joe Biden?
Which was a great line.
And so the president's on stage, knowing that all of America, all the world is watching. And he right now in this instance has Chris Wallace and Joe Biden. When Chris Wallace is supposed to be the moderator, the disinterested moderator, and he's telling the president, you need to own up. Joe Biden, I'm like, well, who are you, buddy? If I'd have been the producer or director, I'd have walked on and said, you're fired. Let me replace you with the cameraman.
Yeah, I mean, it was a food fight from start to finish. There's no doubt about that. I think that people are rightly so frustrated with all of the crosstalk because it's hard to understand what either side is saying if you truly are trying to make a decision based on what you hear in a debate. I don't really think that many people are anymore. I think it's more just political theater and blood sport. But the Commission on Presidential Debates could fix this. If there's going to be another debate, and for the record, my 2 cents, I think you've seen the only debate we're going to have.
I agree.
But if there were going to be these other two, it's a very simple technical procedure in that whatever the agreed upon format is, you get 2 minutes and then the other side gets a minute to respond. Right. Then when that 2 minute time period is up, your microphone stops working.
That's what somebody even said. Why wasn't there a mute option?
You cut the mic when the allotted time is over, and you mute the mic when the other guy is speaking, so that they cannot interrupt.
That's correct.
And so somebody can complete a thought, and then you respond to it. I mean, if you look at first televised debate, presidential debate was Kennedy-Nixon, 1960.
Correct. That is the first one.
You look at how that was handled, where they were seated and then they would stand up and walk to the microphone and say the thing, then they'd go back and sit down, and the next guy would come up and he would say this. It really wasn't until we got into sort of the soundbite culture and the 180 character or whatever it is, Twitterverse, that you get 2 minutes to answer a substantive policy question, and then the other guy gets a minute to respond to that. This is a far sight from Lincoln Douglas. I mean, if you really want to discuss policy, if you really want to highlight the differences between one party's platform and another, then you have to allow for, number one, longer answers.
Yes.
I mean, it's difficult to completely and thoroughly explain a position on something as complicated as how do you deal with climate,
healthcare, race relations in 4 minutes.
Exactly.
Each of you get 2 race relations in 4 minutes. There you go.
Well, and I think, and the sad thing is that's kind of shows the dumbing down of our society, because everybody looks for 140 characters in a tweet, and then that's it, and that's how you get the full story, and that's how you know everything about everything you ever needed to know.
Right.
We should, those expectations, especially if you're, the president and a person running for the presidency, we should up the ante. We should, raise those expectations.
And if you don't want the moderator to be as important as he apparently was last night, then you can also change the format to where the candidates ask each other questions.
Yes.
Oh, I would have loved
and
that.
that's done on the world level.
Yes, I would have loved
when
that.
I debated at Oxford and Cambridge and at Ateneo University, that's how it's handled in the world
and
level.
So the people debating each other asked, and that's where you really get into where
and
how somebody feels.
For those that that love the political theater of it all, I mean, just take a few minutes and watch Prime Minister's question time in the Parliament.
Correct.
Okay, you want to see the opposition party stand up and question the president directly on the floor of their legislative chamber.
Right.
I mean, I'm not saying we start that here, but you would have that sort of dynamic between the two asking each other questions.
All right, let's get back to this. Charles, back to my screen, please, if we could, as this continues. And again, I stopped it here because it's just amazing that Chris Wallace and Joe Biden team up against the president when the moderator is not supposed to be part of this. This is very early on, remember. Are we ready, Charles? All right.
Who would you like me to condemn?
White supremacists and right
Proud Boys, stand back and stand by. But I'll tell you what. Somebody's got to do something about Antifa and the left, because this is not a right-wing problem. This is a left-wing. This is a left-wing problem. This is radical left.
Will you shut up, man?
Listen, who is on your...
And there it is. Will you shut up, man? This is where the gauntlet is dropped, right here in front of the president. I'm going to react first, and we're going to come back around the corner. It blows me away that in 2020, now, in the late 1800s, the early 1900s, when we're stumping on boxes out at Hyde Park in London, or we're in New York and we're in, help me out with the name of the big park.
Central Park.
Thank you.
Central Park?
Central Park. Yeah, I just went blank. In Central Park, and we're stumping with political speeches. I get that, because that was back in the people threw lettuce and tomatoes at you because they could. But in 2020, with everything that we have, the decorum that we expect, and I think it's hilarious, the far left's political correctness mode over the last 15 years goes out the window, and their presidential nominee says, "Shut up, man. Help me out here."
And you want to be president of the United States, and you can't even follow rules that would he let his grandchildren say "shut up, man" to his wife or to their parents, his kids? I mean, it's to me, it's one of those things. You need to lead by example, and you're saying something that you would not let a first grader say to another first grader. To me, that shows the immaturity and the venom and the anger from the left. It's not, they can't look at President Trump and talk about what he's done, all because they're so angry. They've got him in their head.
Can't hear you.
Yeah, Charles said that used to be a pop in the mouth. Oh,
Right,
yeah. Boy,
right.
my mom and dad would have
Used
been
to be
like,
a pop in the
come
mouth,
on over
yeah.
here, kid. Yeah.
You know, but and I remember being a kid and being said that "shut up" was a bad word.
Yes.
You don't use "shut up."
I didn't let my
'Cause it's
kids say
so
shut up to each
ultimately
other
rude.
growing up because it's just, it's horribly rude.
Yeah. Lathan, reaction to that.
Well, I think it sort of encapsulates what you were referring to, JP, on as far as the PC culture or the cancel culture or whatever. That there used to be a very common phrase in debate that I disagree heartily with everything you're saying, but I would die to defend your right to say it. Well, now
Right.
that's morphed into I disagree with everything you say, and therefore you should not have the right to say it. And so, would you just shut up, man? Is a perfect encapsulation of I must silence those with whom I disagree.
Absolutely.
Right.
And
Yeah.
Absolutely.
and that's where we are.
That's a very good point.
The problem exists when we believe that it is okay from the men or women running for the highest office in this land. It's okay to look at another individual and say, "Shut up, man." That means that we have lost the barrier of politeness. We have lost the barrier of courtesy
Decorum
and respect.
Yeah, and just basic respect.
Basic respect. And I think it's funny coming from the party of political correctness, because that's one of the methods you use to start changing the culture within a government so you can overrun
You're
a
right.
government. That's one
Absolutely.
of the pieces.
Well, and it's one of the things that they say that they have such a distaste for about Trump the man. I mean, they call him a bully. They call him a lot of things, and your candidate acted just like him.
Yeah.
If that's what you don't like about the president, then you shouldn't want your candidate to act that way either.
Well, and let's go off of so we're talking about Proud Boys. We're talking about Antifa. And I'm not sure where the next line's going to go, because I only put this up to shut up, man, but we're going to run a little bit more of this. When Joe Biden looks at the president and says, "Antifa is just an idea."
and you texted me that in all caps, I believe.
I did.
Because,
I did.
my goodness.
How is Antifa just an idea when you've got people at Berkeley's campus and around Berkeley's campus when Ben Shapiro comes out violently attacking other people in masks and not owning up to who they are, hiding behind the black veil of violence?
Yeah, I think perfect response to something like that. Joe, it's not just an idea in Portland. It's
Right.
not just an idea in Seattle. Not just an idea in, just name the cities where they're burning down people's businesses, where they're assaulting people in the streets.
Right.
It's not just an idea there.
The people who've been hospitalized, the people who have died as a result of Antifa. What do you say to their families? That's just an idea.
It's just, there's an opportunity, for the president to say, look, if you truly believe that, Joe, you're just out of touch with reality.
Yeah.
Just like, Jerry Nadler said it in Congress not too long ago. Oh, it's not even a real thing.
Where-
What country are you living in?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, clearly you're not in Northern California when all this began.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, let's run a little more of the clip because there's more that, and again, and I'll drop this real quick, and we'll get to this later with everybody else, but the president, in my opinion, wins the first half of the debate. He held his decorum. Yeah, he talked over a little bit, but they were both doing it. He didn't revert to ignorance to try to collect people as voters. So let's listen just a few more moments here on this clip because I think you're going to be surprised. I know that I was.
Your list, Joe.
Who's
on your
so,
list?
right, gentlemen, I think
This
we've
is
ended
so
this.
He's going to pack the court.
We have
We're not going to give a list.
We have ended this segment. We're going to move on to the second segment.
That was really a productive segment, wasn't it? Keep yapping.
There we go.
Yeah.
And again, this isn't President Trump saying this. Of course,
No.
the left says President Trump acts like a child. He acts like a child who has always had a silver spoon and a silver rattle in his hand. Reaction.
Yeah. The takeaway I think from that exchange, and maybe it might have been later in the debate too, was that Biden refused to talk about who he would put on the court, and he would not answer the question as he wouldn't address the question of do you support packing the Supreme Court? Do you support
Right.
abolishing the filibuster? All of those things, and he
avoided
he
all
would
of
not
them.
refused
Yes.
to answer the question. Here's what I think probably the impact of the debate on the race, if there is one, is that I don't think if you are an undecided or an independent voter, number one, I think it's hard for me to fathom that there's somebody undecided when the differences are as stark as they are. I think in polling, if somebody tells you they're undecided, they're probably just unwilling to tell you who
They just don't want to
for.
admit publicly, or yeah.
But I think what will likely be the outcome here is Trump didn't say or do anything that would really irritate his base voter, his core supporters.
No.
He didn't back off of anything.
Yeah, he didn't vacillate.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
He stuck to what he's
anything-
always said and always the
Exactly.
way he's governed.
If anything, they're going to be energized.
Yes.
You want to be on camera, so.
Yeah, you
But
gotta be on camera.
Biden said,
Yeah, that's where I was
go
going.
back into your bunker when Biden's been in the bunker the whole time.
Yeah.
And
So-
we were going to talk about that.
So Trump
too.
didn't really do anything that I think
Right.
his base is going to be upset with. But Biden
Oh,
did back off.
yes.
The Green New Deal is not my plan. There's no manifesto. I didn't. I am the Democratic Party, and
that was the one that
and he
floored
that was a
me.
big
and he
mistake that he
completely
said that.
disavowed the whatever it is 110-page document that he put out
Right.
with the Bernie campaign. He's like, no, that's not
That's-
my platform.
Right.
And the
Green New
president did
Deal is
point
not
that
my
out.
plan. And so I
Yeah,
think if
that's a
there's
very
if there's
good
an impact
point.
on the election, it's that Trump likely energized his base, and there's probably some elements of Biden's base that are a little concerned about what they heard when it comes to core issues for them. Tell AOC that the Green New Deal is not
Yeah.
the platform.
I'm sure she didn't like that too much last
Oh,
night.
I know she didn't.
And when it's as nasty as it was last night, like I said, just food fight from start to finish. When a race gets that ugly, it's a term in politics called poisoning the well.
Right.
Yes.
Basically, where it's only the really diehard committed who are it's going to turn a lot of people off. A lot of people may.
Oh, and it did. You
So-
look at social media,
so
and
it
people were
comes down
turned off
to
last night.
so it comes down to a base election.
You're right.
And then it's about energy of the voters and who turns out.
I
Well,
just thought
it-
it was funny when Biden said that. I am the Democratic Party. I could just see all the Democrat leaders going,
Well,
"No," in slow
here's
motion.
and I want to talk about that because I think, and especially, and you've got three people right here, Lathan, myself, and JP, who for decades we have been delegates at our precinct, our Senate, and our state conventions for the Republican Party. So we've been part of the party platform that goes to the national level. That is what you expect your presidential nominee to abide by. And as a grassroots person, and all of us have been there and done that and still doing the grassroots political thing, if a Republican candidate for president would have said, I am the Republican Party, I was offended for the Democrats last night because I said to my husband, I said, pause, because I was so angry. I said, my gosh, I said, I'm not a Democrat. And that I take huge offense to what he just said. He just cut me, who volunteers probably 20 hours a week, out of the process. How dare he? And I think that's going to be a thing that turned them off. Also, when he basically dismissed the new Green Deal and said, no, it's mine, it's the Biden deal. I'm like, dude, you took the Bernie folks out, you took the AOC folks out. And again, the only people who are going to have been around for that part of the debate are the hardcore people who already knew who they were voting for.
He already, I think, had an issue for a candidate as that his side is not really that enthusiastic about him as the candidate as much as they hate the other guy. And
yes.
And that's not going to change. I mean, there's going to be a huge turnout on the Democratic side just because they hate Trump, and they're going to vote for anybody, literally anybody who's not Trump.
Right.
But the committed folks, the idealists, the people that are doing the
hardcore diehards,
all the work, that probably some of that backing off the Green New Deal, backing off the Biden Bernie manifesto. That probably does alienate a few people. It'll just be interesting to see.
You may not get out and volunteer this weekend like you may have been before. You may not donate that 20, 25, 50,
Yep.
30, $35 that you were going to donate this week.
Yep.
So on the screen, you're going to see our phone number, 214-494-1244.
Oh, so yeah, 214-494-1244. Thanks. I'm like, what? Oh, yeah, that's right.
214-494-1244.
Yeah.
How about you, Lathan?
How about you, Lathan?
Yeah. You want me to sing it?
No,
Yeah.
you're good.
Yeah.
So here's the deal. Call in. We know you have an opinion. I'm watching the feed just blow up. A lot of people have been anticipating this conversation. All of the feeds have blown up.
Yes.
And people are throwing comments out there. Would love to hear your opinion on what's happened. Would love to hear your opinion on the debate. And so feel free to call in again at 214-494-1244.
That's 214-494-1244.
All right.
214-494-1244.
Okay, and you got melodious. There we go. Okay. Charles, I can always count on you for fun. So let's go ahead and hit back to the screen. I want to play some more of the debate. And we're going to be on extended coverage here, on debate coverage. We're going to extend today a little bit past our 9 o'clock time frame so we can continue to hammer this out.
Well, I mean, the feed is blowing up with comments.
Curry, it is. It is blowing up. So here we go. We're going to play a little more of the debate. Because, again, I have to stop it almost every 30 seconds because, and again, what I want you to understand is my belief is the president wins the first half of the debate. He held himself together. He didn't allow himself to get sucked in. He didn't start throwing knives or daggers when Biden and Chris Wallace both are going after him. So here we go.
Man,
The people understand, Joe.
here's the deal. The fact is that everything he's saying so far is simply a lie. I'm not here to call out his lies. Everybody knows he's a liar.
But you
I just
agree.
want to
Hey,
make
Joe,
sure.
you're the liar.
I want to make sure.
Graduated last in your class, not first in your class.
I want to make
Mr.
sure.
President, can you let him finish?
This is where
He
the
doesn't know how
president
to do
gets
that.
done. I think it's funny that
Can
Chris
I finish?
Wallace. I think it's funny when Chris Wallace says, Mr. President, can you let him get done? I'd have been like, hey, Chris, as soon as we play by the same rules, I'll follow your lead.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I would have done as a president. I would have pointed out to the world that Chris Wallace, not playing your game anymore. I'm the president of the United States. I'm in control of the stage.
Yeah, sit down.
You need to sit. And that's just my way of debate. I would have done that so the American people could have seen,
That decisive leadership.
this isn't happening because I recognize inequities. And
Yeah.
Chris Wallace's is an inequitable debate.
Yes.
And so I'm not going to stifle my comments. I'm going to continue. And then when you want to start running this thing right, then let's talk. But until then, I'm not going to allow you to run me over, nor this former vice president. So commentary, though, again, you're a liar. It's all lies. Well, we know that it's not all lies. What does that do for the American people? Does that move the chains at all on this game?
I mean, the short answer is we'll see, I guess. But it's hard for me to think that just trading insults is going to move the needle for an uncommitted. Either let's say it's like somebody who is moderate to conservative, but not a hardcore, reliable Republican voter, or their counterpart on the other side. Just trading jabs and you're a liar. No, you're a liar. You graduated last, not first. You don't even know what school you went to. Stuff like that. It makes for it's kind of entertaining, I guess, in a macabre sort of way for
Right.
political dorks like me. But I don't really think it's. I would be surprised if that moves somebody from being, say, a lukewarm leaning Republican to, okay, now I'm for sure voting for Trump, or vice versa.
Yeah,
Right.
it was, I sent in one of our show group texts last night, and JP, I sent this to you originally, I believe. I said, first of all, if somebody who wasn't total hardcore like us, I even had friends texting me saying, I'm out, I can't watch any more of this. And they're my hardcore political friends who were texting me and saying that, and I was like, I agree, but I've got to stick with it for the show. And I said, I think if anybody was undecided and they watched the entire debate, I think they probably decided not to vote.
Well,
they may just be so disgusted with the whole entire process.
I agree, and that's what I was saying before. I think
Yeah.
the impact is going to be that it really, if it has a huge impact, it will be that it completely turns it into a base election.
Yes.
It will be
And
R's versus D's.
And,
Hardcore
and in that
R's
case,
versus
the R's
hardcore
are
Ds.
more motivated at this time.
So Ronald Hall on our feed says Chris Wallace is not capable of conducting any debates without showing his hatred for Trump. It's the very same thing that happened with Brian Williams when he hosted one of the debates between Trump and HRC. Williams clearly showed favoritism towards Hillary. Now it's happening again. Very unfair. This would never have happened had Walter Cronkite been asking the questions.
Amen.
But, when Walter Cronkite was giving the news, it wasn't an editorial. It was the news. News has become all editorials
yeah,
now.
news is now what the personality thinks as an individual, not just reporting the facts. There's no more, what is that, Dragnet, just the facts?
Yeah.
Just the
Right.
facts. There's none of that anymore.
Yeah. And so, again, call in. We'd love to hear your comments.
Yes.
214-494-1244.
That's 214-494-1244.
All right, let's listen. Oh, go ahead, Charles. I'm sorry.
214-494-1244.
I was trying to cut out your melodiousness. We're going to go ahead and go back to the screen. Let me play some more. It just, again, blows me away. And this is where it does go south. When the president calls him out on not knowing where you graduated from, you're at the end of your class, I think, that's just, it's petty, it's unnecessary. And that's where I think things start to go south. But I think you can only take so much. Oh, shut up, man. You're a liar.
You're a clown.
You're a clown. I mean, I think you
Yeah.
can only take so much before you finally break. I get that part. So let's listen to a few more minutes of this. Here we go.
I'm going to give you an
Excuse
opportunity.
me, I got rid of the individual mandate, which was a
That is
big
not a
chunk of
comprehensive
That
plan.
is absolutely a big thing. That was the worst
I
part of
didn't ask
Obamacare.
Sir.
Chris,
You're
that was the
debating him,
worst
not
part
me.
of Obama.
Let me ask my
Well,
question.
I'll ask Joe. The individual mandate was the most unpopular aspect of
Mr.
Obamacare. I
President,
got rid of it.
I'd like you
and
to,
we will protect
Mr.
people
President,
with
I'm the
pre-existing
moderator of this
conditions.
debate, and I would like you to let me ask my question, and then
So you're the moderator of the debate, then why don't you act like one?
And
I'm the parent.
He did not. Yeah, I mean, I do what I say because I said so. I mean, it was just several times during the debate, Chris Wallace from behind, and this was a big body language thing, had both his hands up in the air like this, like he was trying to control it. And I was like, at some point, if I were him, I would have said, okay, you know what, cut the mics. I would have come up, I would have said, and I would have been mic'd where you could hear me as the moderator and not those two. And I would have said, if you don't follow the rules, I'm going to mute your mic. And I think that it's sad, but we've kind of come to a point in society and in our world where that's necessary. His lack of control from literally the first few seconds was so evident, and I think that's what set the tone. I think if you would have had, who's the lady, and she's on Fox News Business, brownish hair with blonde highlights, very attractive lady. She does a business show. Do y'all know who I'm talking about? She's moderated.
I don't remember her
I
name.
can't remember her name, and I
Maria
apologize.
Bartiromo.
I think, yeah.
probably
Somebody
mangled
help
her
me
last
out
name,
from the
but
I think
crew.
so.
But I think she would have done a much better job. I think Chris, if you do not have a good, and you know this, and y'all both know this from being in politics, if you don't have a good moderator from the get-go, the debate, it's just not going to be a good debate.
Well, the problem with Chris Wallace and how he lost this at the very beginning was he took sides with Joe Biden.
And it was at the very beginning, it was obvious, right?
He took sides.
Right.
He and Joe both look at the president and demand the president answer a question in a certain way. And as a moderator, you can't do that. And I agree with Lathan, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, I'm trying to remember which presidential debate it was, where they did have at 2 minutes, your microphone turned off, and the other mics were off, so they couldn't talk over. And I'm trying to remember if that was 2008. I can't remember.
I don't recall.
Oh, I'd like,
Or
I'd
it
love
could
to
have
know
been-
that, yeah.
it could have been 08 or it could have been in the primaries when you had
When you had like
could have been.
25
Because you had-
people on
exactly.
stage. Yeah.
I just remember that at 2 minutes, that mic turned off. And I remember candidates trying to continue to talk, and their
you
mic
couldn't
was
hear 'em.
dead. And it was like they figured out and went, oh, okay.
Just get the talking stick out, right?
Right. Well, the whooping stick after last night for sure. Anyways, so reaction to all of that. Latham, we'll start with you.
I've now lost count of what we're reacting to.
So this is where Chris Wallace is saying, I'm the moderator.
Oh, yeah,
I'm
yeah.
in control
Yeah.
here. And let me ask the questions, Mr. President.
Yeah.
Well, first he said Mr. Vice President. He corrected and said Mr. President.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you have to tell people that you're in charge, you're not really in charge.
Yes.
I mean, it's just a rule in life.
Yes. I'm the boss. Okay. Yeah. That's a good point. That's a very good point. Yeah, it was a train wreck from the beginning. I think I would like to know what the numbers were starting off with people watching it versus how quickly people just went,
Tuned out.
I'm done.
Yeah.
Even people who don't comment on politics on Facebook last night were commenting. And the majority of people, there were people taking jabs at both Biden and Trump, but the majority of the people said, wow, Chris Wallace lost control and it's done.
And I think he didn't lose it. I think he gave it up. I think that when he joined the Biden team in the early part of the debate, he knowingly gave up that power and thought that he could control the president. And that's just not going to happen.
Yep.
And so, anyway, let's listen to a few more minutes of this. Again, call in. We'd love to hear from you. We know you're out there. I know you're listening because you're commenting. 214-494-1244.
That's 214-494-1244.
214.
Okay, Tommy, Coach Quigley, microphones went off when there were 16 Democrats on stage.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Coach
Okay.
Quigley, for that. And I think it happened before as well. I just can't remember which presidential election they did that. And it's like
Is that the one where Ross Perot was running? Maybe
it could have been.
I don't know.
Again, I
I
just
don't
don't
remember.
recall. But let's listen to some more of this. Again, I just shook my head. And that's why I got like a what do they call that neck thing? Whiplash.
Whiplash?
Yeah, I'm just shaking my head. Got whiplash at. Here we go.
You can answer.
Go ahead.
Have to have a system where people are held accountable. And by the way, violence in response is never appropriate. Never appropriate. Peaceful protest is. Violence is never appropriate.
All right.
What is peaceful protest? When they run through the middle of a town
President Trump,
and burn down your
President Trump,
stores and kill people
President
all over
Trump,
the place,
that
and you
is
say
not
peaceful
peaceful
protest?
President
No,
Trump,
it's
I'm not
not, but
asking-
you say it is.
I did
President
not
Trump,
say
I'd like to continue with the
Yes,
issue
go
of
ahead,
race. I
please.
promise we're going to get to the issue of law and order in a moment.
Once the winner is declared after all the ballots are counted, all the votes are counted, that'll
In
be the end of
February.
it.
Oh, sorry.
That'll be the end of it. And if it's me, in fact, fine. If it's not me, I'll support the outcome. And I'll be a president
Like y'all
not just
have
for
last
the
4 years.
Democrats. I'll be a president for Democrats and Republicans. And this guy,
I want to see an honest
Okay.
ballot count.
Gentlemen, you say that's the end of
Chris,
it? This is the
I
end
wanna
of this
see an
debate?
honest ballot count.
We're
And I
going to
think
leave
he
it
does
there.
too.
This is the end of the debate. By this time, it's all gone. And again, Joe Biden has absolute no decorum when he says, this guy.
Yep.
I never referred to President Obama. Not a fan. Didn't appreciate his policy. Didn't appreciate the division.
Or President Clinton.
Well, right.
Yeah.
But Clinton was a little bit more palatable, even with the craziness, than Obama, because Obama intentionally divided
Oh my goodness.
our
the
country.
Absolutely. He
we
and
went
his
we
wife.
went back to the late 40s, early
and
50s
his
when all
wife,
of that
yes.
began again.
Yep.
And instead of having a Martin Luther King Jr. or even Malcolm X is mild compared to today's supposedly race leaders.
Yeah.
So anyways, where I go with this is this. I never disrespected President Obama, always referred to him as President Obama, disagreed with his policies publicly on the air, but never said this guy. I don't even do that when I'm talking to regular people where I say this guy. I refer to their name or refer to who they are. And it just goes to show that throughout the entire debate, and that's why I wanted to play this clip, from the beginning to the end, Joe Biden's entire strategy was to try to dismantle any legitimate policy conversation between the two of them, because the American people will not buy off on the liberal agenda. And so he can't go out and talk intelligently in a debate format about the liberal agenda and know he can be successful.
You could at least say, "I'm sorry, Mr. President, I disagree."
Well,
there was no.
but
When
that
you
was
call
not.
somebody, you say, "Shut up,
But
man."
that was not the
There's no
strategy. The
respect.
strategy was to never have a legitimate conversation on what you really believed in and what you really wanted to bring to the American people. Reaction from the rest of you.
Yeah, I think I can agree with that. I think it appears to be like the Biden strategy going into it was just stay on the attack on Trump the entire time, and maybe with the hopes that you bait him into saying something really outrageous in return. I think the bar was set so low performance wise for Biden going into it.
Yes.
I said I think it was on Kirby's show a week or so ago, and I said basically if Biden shows up with pants on and doesn't set the podium on fire,
and doesn't fall over, that it's good.
The reaction is going to be how he outperformed expectations.
Yes.
And the headlines are already written.
Yep.
And so I think knowing that, I think, JP, you're probably right. The strategy seems to have been just stay on the attack the entire time. And also, again, to the format, when you only have 2 minutes, it is difficult to get into, substantive policy discussions anyway. And I think just the coarsening of political culture over the last couple of decades, law and politics are downstream of culture. And the coarsening of the culture when it comes to disagreement, like I said earlier, that if we disagree, I must then silence you, so you're not even allowed to speak something with which I disagree. Polls show up to 60% of people are afraid to say what they really think, for fear of the consequences.
Right.
And so, if law and politics are downstream of culture, and I believe they are, what you see reflected in that debate is what was already going on in our culture. I think social media in many ways has contributed to it. I mean, Twitter is just an absolute intellectual sewer.
Yes.
Right.
And,
so true.
And the way you get followers and likes and all of these things is by being the most outrageous voice out there, and that gets attention. The 24-hour news cycle where we have 24-hour news channels all having to come up with new and different ways to say the same thing for 24 hours
so they can get
day.
Advertisers.
And exactly. Yeah. And how do you get eyeballs on your show? You be the outrageous guy, whether it's, and that's in everything. Sports talk radio is the exact same way.
Right.
Right.
So I think what you see on the debate stage in politics is a reflection of the culture that's already in place. We didn't get that way overnight. You can't fix it overnight.
Right.
But you can, as a citizen or as a voter, expect more and say so from your elected officials.
Absolutely.
Very well said. And just the only thing I would add to what Lathan has said is what really scared me, because safety is first and foremost. We can debate taxes and property taxes and pro-life and pro-choice and all this kind of stuff all day long, but if you're not safe to do so, that's a problem. And when President Trump tried to get Joe Biden to say, then just say, I support law and order. Joe Biden could not say, I support law and order without having some little asterisk or little addendum added to it. As Joe citizen walking around wanting to be safe, that scares me to death.
Well, and so to the law and order discussion, of course, during the debate, the big thing was Joe Biden tried to add in law and order with justice. Yep. Okay.
Yep.
We all want justice.
Yeah.
And that's when the president points out, I've allowed more people out of the jails. I've done more jail reform than and he has. He's done more than Reagan, more than Bush, more than Eisenhower, more than Lincoln. I mean, yeah. And so you talk law and order. Joe is trying to step around, and this is where the president, I think, did do a good job. You have just lost your own left. You have just left.
And that goes back to what Lathan said about if this is a battle of the bases.
Yeah,
then Joe Biden was a loser last night.
Absolutely. And so then when you start talking about climate change and you start talking about the idea that the president wants to burn the earth with bad emissions, I believe the president needed to better explain in 4 sentences getting out of the Paris Agreement, rolling companies back forward to be more to be better about what they're releasing into the environment, but allow them to do their business to reduce the amount of cost of cars, because there's $3,500, as he pointed out, built in just for the environmental stuff. What's funny is the environmentalists aren't following themselves.
No,
That's what I think is funny as well. So I think overall, I think the president wins the debate. I think that the first half definitely rolls his way. I don't think anybody walks away from there and changes their mind. If there was an independent anywhere in this country, they may have walked away and said, I'm not going to vote. I got two children up there, yep. And I just can't believe it. Well, 3 children, and so blew me away. So the idea is, if there is another debate, please give us a better moderator. One of the crew members,
give me a glass of wine. I should have had wine last night.
One of the crew members goes, we just need to let the American people ask the questions. Bring us up on Zoom.
Would love it.
And turn on a mic, let them ask a question, turn their mic off, and let the candidates answer the question.
I like that.
I don't think it's a bad idea either. Yeah, we'll moderate.
Yeah, somebody's like, JP would have been a better moderator. I was like, yeah.
We're going to be moderating the Senate District 30.
Senate District 30 is a runoff.
We've got a debate coming up.
Shelley Luther and Drew Springer, and it looks like JP and I will be moderating
in October. We'll get a date out there.
Excellent.
So people can tune in. We'll go live from the debate as well.
Or have them on American Ninja Warrior.
Yeah.
And then there's that. All right, we're out of here, folks.
That's funny.
Thank you for staying tuned to the extended debate coverage. Lathan, thanks for sticking around.
Love y'all.
We know we kept you about 45 minutes longer than you planned.
No, I enjoyed it.
So, but thanks for kicking around.
What's the deal with always having me on after the beauty queens? The last time I was here, I came in after a beauty queen.
We're helping you and I out. Yeah. We're elevating our look.
We know more people will listen to your segment if you follow one of the Miss Texas contestants.
I can't blame them.
Well, listen, we'll talk to you Friday. Don't forget entertainment news and sports. And boy, is there a ton of talk about sports. Woo. NFL gets hit for the first time with COVID-19. What will Goodell do? Will Minnesota play? Will the Texans play? Time will tell.
And then what happened with the Stars?
I don't want to talk about it. But I will say this, though, and be ready for this. Not a single one of them kneeled, put their fist up in the air, or bowed their head during the national anthem. Hockey is about to become America's new sport, folks.
I think you are right on that. I can't wait till it starts up again because 2021 is a star. That's our Stanley Cup year.
Absolutely. Well, everybody have a blessed day. Thank you for tuning in. We love the crew. You make us what we are, and we appreciate you. Have a blessed day. See you Friday.